Good afternoon, everybody. Can I have your attention, please? A very warm welcome to Verizon Hall. My name is Matías Tarnopolsky. Welcome everybody behind me. Hi. I couldn't hear you. We'll be hearing more from you later. And welcome everyone in front of me. My name is Matías Tarnopolsky. I have the incredible pleasure and honor of being the president and CEO of the Philadelphia Orchestra. Today we are introducing to you our 1920 season. Thank you for being here today to share in this important announcement and for joining us on what's going to be a really special journey. Thank you to all of those here who are in the orchestra, who are staff, board members, supporters, students, who make everything we do possible and help us reach as many of you in our community as we can do. We are delighted you're here. I'd like to acknowledge a few special guests who are here today from some of our really great artistic and civic partnerships that the Philadelphia Orchestra is really happy to enjoy. The Mann Center for the Performing Arts is represented today by their President and CEO, Catherine Cahill. Welcome, Kathy. Are you here, Kathy? I hope so, yes. Another of our key artistic partners, Washington Performing Arts, are represented by their President and CEO, Jenny Bilfield and Elizabeth Rasheva. Welcome. The voice of the Philadelphia Orchestra, none other than Greg Whiteside of WRTI, is here. Welcome, Greg. I should have asked you to silence your cell phone, like you always ask us to do. You always would, of course. Superintendent of Schools, Dr. William Hite, is here. Welcome, Dr. Hite. We'll be hearing from him a little later on, and of course, many members of our boards of directors and volunteers committees. Thank you for all you do to support the Philadelphia Orchestra. Now, it is my enormous pleasure to welcome our sensational and utterly brilliant music director, Yannick Nézet-Séguin. Welcome, Yannick.
Thank you all, yes, and thank you, Matías, for this very warm introduction. The orchestra looks different, yeah? I have to say, you get the best view of the house because you're looking at me, no, just kidding. This is the gorgeous view of our wonderful musicians of the Philadelphia Orchestra looking into our amazing hall, Verizon Hall, and the people here. This is also a great view to see. These are the 400 members of the All-City Orchestra and Choir. They are rehearsing for their annual big event in this hall, and we're rehearsing together later. I can't wait. Thank you for being here. You are the great musicians of tomorrow. Oh. So, you know, look, this seat is, of course, the stage of the great musicians of today. And speaking about having a great view, today will be about giving a great view on our common season that I can't wait to unveil with Matías. This is already my 8th season as music director. 8th is a beautiful number, and the beautiful thing is that we know there are many more to come. But this is a great moment also to take definite steps into the future, and this is what we did, and I'm so grateful for the first time together with our president and CEO, Matías Tarnopolsky. So we have very exciting announcements in store for you. So why don't we start, Matías, with our pillars?
Let's take it away. Indeed, we have, I think, a really special season, which we're tremendously excited to introduce to you. And there are many joys in the season, and it's really hard to choose amongst your children, and you'll be doing that as you go through the brochure. But there are 4 major organizing principles, 4 pillars in the season that are really defining as a message about the future and a message for the 1920 season, beginning with Women Now. And this is a series which is all about a celebration of women innovators and creators. Another pillar is Beethoven Now. It's none other than Beethoven's 250th birthday in the 1920 season, and we're going to be celebrating that in a unique and special way. #YourPhilOrc. On the front cover of the brochure, there is a beautiful photograph of Yannick at Girard College with members of the Kappa Choir. At the bottom of the front page, it says #YourPhilOrc, and you'll see incredible works of art photography by Philadelphia photographers throughout the brochure. This is about the Philadelphia Orchestra is your orchestra, your musicians in iconic locations in Philadelphia, in your community. That's pillar number 3. And then pillar number 4, which is a showcase of major productions throughout the season. The Philadelphia Orchestra has a tradition of being a great convener, and we are really delighted to be able to welcome 2 of those to discuss the inspiration behind some of the programming on this season. So I'd like to first invite and introduce the exceptionally talented and newly appointed composer in residence of the Philadelphia Orchestra, Gabriela, Lena, Frank. Welcome, Gabby. We are delighted to welcome you, Gabby, as to start your tenure as composer in residence. Gabby and I actually go back a long way to the West Coast, so it's very moving to have you here. I'm also delighted to welcome another exceptionally talented composer and performer also, Valerie Coleman, whose music will be performed in the first week of our season and at the conclusion of this presentation. Welcome, Valerie Coleman. So we're going to have a little conversation. I'd like to begin with you, Valerie. We've just announced a series called Women Now, which many of us think we shouldn't still be having to do this, but here we are, and we're delighted that women's music features so heavily on our season. But I'd love to get your reaction to an organization like ours doing something like this.
Well, it's not only big, but it's really needed. I think in the world right now, for women creators in general, we're starting to see the effort of being proactive, stepping forward, really coming to fruition. So it's a very exciting time, and the contributions that women creators, I say creators because all you ladies out there, there's a creative spark in each and every single one of us, right? Yes. Whatever it may be, drawing, coloring, playing piano, whatever it may be, it's something that needs to be nurtured, and this is why we are here. And this is why we have, because of generations that have come before, we are the product of that. So it's such an exciting time. It means so much to me because of the hope that we can hand off to you guys, but also because music is going to be all the better for it. Diversity is key, whether it be diversity of opinion, heritage, gender, all of that. That really gives us perspectives to fertilize the soil, nurture the soil, in order for ideas to grow, musical ideas. So it's a really wonderful time.
Thank you so much, Valerie. And you've said something important. Gabby, I'd like to turn to you, if I may, because when we think about inclusivity and diversity, it's much more than gender diversity. It takes many, many forms. And I know that's something that you've thought about a lot. So talk to us a bit about that in the context of you and your music.
Well, I agree absolutely with everything that you're saying, and that you and I would not be here except for the accomplishments of women before us. And I think that when you're talking about gender and gender parity, it's very difficult to separate that from questions of race. It just gets caught up in the whole discussion. In this country, we have a complicated history with gender and race. Voting rights to women were extended first to women that were white. They weren't extended to women of color, for instance. So something like this, this is pretty amazing. We have 2 women of color that are working with a storied institution like this. And I can't thank you guys enough for having such a broad spectrum of inclusion, that we're not cherry picking these different attributes of diversity. I think something else that we can also consider is the fact that we've been diverse for a very long time. And so in many ways, while this season is a retrospective, it's also aspirational. There's a spirit of reclamation and looking at what we've been doing for so long. So it's an incredible honor to be having a messy, glorious celebration of diversity. In my own story, I feel like your story and my story, there aren't very many countries on this planet where you would see this happening. I mean, you think about it, for my part, I'm a hearing impaired, and it's not an insignificant hearing loss. I'm a hearing impaired, mixed race, daughter of a Jew, daughter of a Latin American immigrant, daughter of Chinese, immigrants as well, who grew up in a liberal hippie campus town, who writes symphonies for a living. And to me, that is very American. That's something that doesn't happen. And it's wonderful. It's something to be celebrated, and gender is wrapped up. It's something that's wrapped up in all attributes of an American identity. So this is just tremendous, what you guys are throwing your moral weight behind.
Thank you, Gabby. Well, I mean, what you do is tremendous musically and in other ways, and we're delighted to welcome your music to the stage.
It's very inspiring for us to be inspired by you, the 2 of you, and many more. And I have to say, just for our audience today, that the seed of your collaboration with us was planted many years ago when, for those of you who were there, part of my inaugural 2 weeks when I became music director, the first music of a living composer that I conducted was this beautiful piece that Gabby wrote for us, Concertino Cusqueño. And that is, we played it again for the Martin Luther King Day. We played it again in the summer. We played it on tour to China. So now it's just you said 7 years. Yeah, that's true. 7 years later.
We were babies. We were like you. We were babies.
Yeah. But I want to add that there should always be this place. I mean, there's always more that you can do as an institution, and this is for us, as we said, it shouldn't be something we still talk about, but I want to make it clear that this is a new commitment for the future, that every Philadelphia Orchestra season should be the reflection of the diverse and beautiful community that we represent. And also, just a little detail to say, we are creating now a pipeline where we can actually work with the composers, with the orchestra, and having this reading from women composers we had a few months ago, and that the orchestra can actually read the pieces, give advice, and it's like a workshop that we go together in order to keep nurturing and fostering this next generation of composers. Yes.
Beautifully expressed. Valerie, I know that we're going to be hearing you play at the end of the presentation, and we have so much to get through, so you can go and warm up and get ready for your performance of Umoja. We'll see you in a few minutes. And we're going to carry on. We're going to carry on talking about Beethoven, because this is an important collaboration and intersection between Yannick and Gabby and the music of Beethoven. So 2020 is the 250th birthday of Beethoven, and I'm sure we're not alone in celebrating that birthday with performances of all the symphonies and all the concerti, and I can't wait. I mean, remembering the first time I heard Beethoven 9 and thinking that there'll be people in here hearing that piece for the first time with the Philadelphia Orchestra and you is really very, very special. So but you two came up with a great concept. So why don't you introduce both the series and the concept, Yannick?
My vision of Beethoven is that he is now this great classic, this monument. For many people, it's like a statue that we have, and it's, you know, this imposing figure, towering figure. But actually, Beethoven was obsessed with shaking the conventions, shocking its audience, think forward, and also his preoccupations were social, were political, were environmental. They were similar to the preoccupations of today. Playing Beethoven, conducting Beethoven with an orchestra, with the Philadelphia Orchestra, is about finding ways to unsettle. And I'm guarantee you, and I'm convinced, and I promise you that if you come to the hall, you're going to be unsettled by just the approach to Beethoven. But similar to this, when we want to think about paying tribute in the same breath, we actually have to go and look at us now. What are our preoccupations as society? And in a way, for honoring Beethoven, we have to have the similar approach of unsettling and be able to address the real issues of our time. And this is why this can only come from inclusivity and diversity and different point of views. And this is where Gabby comes in. Not only you, but with a group of composers.
Well, in 2016, I began formulating the ideas for a vision of a school, and fashioned after what I think that composers need in the 21st century, is to be able to honor the voices of the past with what they're doing now, and to not be afraid of the concept of art citizenship. And to also reclaim their own spot, thinking of Beethoven as a man, not as this statue, as you were thinking of. In order for me to do that, I mean, there's a kind of reorientation that has to happen artistically and mentally. I was remembering my first experience of Beethoven. I was playing little piano pieces back in Berkeley, California when I was growing up. And to me, he was very Latino. He was very Latino. And then I thought he was a Jewish man, like my father, and I thought he had a Chinese grandpa like my mom, and because I didn't see him as a relic of the past. He was so immediate in that way that little kids have, where they don't have the context. And the context came later in my life that illuminated but also complicated things and could even be distancing. So how do we think of Beethoven and new voices in a way where they shine light on one another? Where Beethoven, who wanted relevance very badly, he wanted relevance, he needs relevance if he's relevant with other composers that are programmed on the same concerts and are stacked up with him on the stage. So at this academy that I have founded, the Gabriela, Lena Frank Creative Academy of Music, I've been able to attract just top talent to come and work with me for short-term residencies, and they work with master performers. I have 3, you should mark these names, that are going to be participating in this project. This is the wonderful Jessica Hunt and Carlos Simon and Iman Habibi. Very diverse, they're emerging artists, they are wonderful people, they think about the things that Beethoven do. I can see all of them going out for a beer and just talking about their struggles and their aspirations, and they'll be responding to various of the symphonies that you're pairing together in the spring.
Exactly. So, of course, these will be in 4 concerts, 4 different programs, 4 different weeks, but in the same month. So this is our cycle. Each of the pairings emphasizes where Beethoven made a break in history. For example, between the 2nd and the 3rd symphony, there's this huge gap, this huge vision. Or the contrast of the 1st symphony to the 9th, so the beginning and end, and so on. And this is where once per program, the 3 composers Gabby talked about, and Gabby herself, we kept for you, the 9th with the chorus. So it will be a choral piece responding to the Ode to Joy. But each week there will be a work in response, like I read here, a work of dissent, or a work of reflection of our time, or work of tribute, or a direct counterpoint to Beethoven, and hopefully all of this, we should be prepared to be moved, of course, but to be touched by the light that will be shed on the works we know.
And the investment that the orchestra is making is deep. So this is the kind of commission, as a career-changing commission for an emerging artist. But the fact that you're offering them a reading of the work is something that you don't see very often. There are reading programs out there, but they're often it's just a reading. It's not a readings to premieres. You don't actually get to make any changes to the piece. You get a recording in all its flawed, glorious state. And in this way, being able to actually develop a relationship with the players and ask for advice, this is a real commitment, and I can't thank you enough on behalf of my composers for this opportunity to comment on Beethoven.
As musicians, we are always indebted and grateful for the vision of the creators like you. So this is just a partnership I'm looking forward to so much.
Gabby, thank you. We can't wait to hear your tribute or love letter or whatever it is to Beethoven 9. I think you're uniquely placed to help us reflect on his music. Thank you. So, as Gabby leaves the stage, and she beautifully emblemizes both Women Now and Beethoven Now, for our Women Now series, we are really pleased to be a proud partner of Vision 2020's Women 100 initiative, which is a celebration of the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment in 2020. So really around Yannick and our commitment to music of excellence, relevance, and context, it seems like the perfect connection. So our third pillar is really all about community, and you see that reflected in the images in the program book. You see that reflected in the photographs presented on the stage, all by Philadelphia photographers of our musicians in iconic Philadelphia connections. This is really about your orchestra. And one of the many wonderful things about Philadelphia is that, musicians, school teachers live in the communities they serve, amongst many, many others, and that makes our city very, very special. During the 1920 season, we are going to be recognizing the work of Philadelphia public school teachers with a ticket program whereby Philadelphia public school teachers, administrators, and staff who give so much to our community through their work in the classroom, they will be able to come and hear the Philadelphia Orchestra free of charge. And we hope that we want that to be our gift to them, our commitment to our community. We wanted also that they be inspired by the incredible work of the Philadelphia Orchestra musicians and Yannick and many others on our stages. They be inspired by the music making, and they take that back to their classrooms.
Our commitment as a great orchestra, storied orchestra, is of course to quality and the greatest music. But our commitment is to our community. And it's been for quite some years now, and we want season after season to increase that commitment and articulate it differently. We had our community commissions, one by Todd Macover, one by Hannibal, which we're about to premiere very soon. Well, actually two by Hannibal. We had one a few years ago. Now one will be next month. And Gabby will write another community commission for the next season. We have our free neighborhood concert series, the school partnership program. But looking into the future, you have to expect even more that we're doing, because what we want every season is to be relevant to whatever our city is facing in terms of issues, the social justice, the equality, the environment, the education. And there are many ways. Music, week after week, is something that can address these things, but we want also to nurture just our relationship with our community on and off stage.
Beautifully expressed. Thank you, Yannick. This is the perfect moment to invite our next guest, and it is a real honor to have with us Superintendent of Schools, Dr. William Hite. Welcome, Dr. Hite. Well, hey, good to see you. All those kids are going to be rehearsing on this stage very soon, so we're going to have to, with Yannick. Dr. Hite, we're so happy to have you here. I met you, I think, like on my first day on the job. What you do is so important to all of us in the community. So, I mean, one major question for you, if you could speak to us about the impact and the importance of music education.
Sure. Great, thank you. And first and foremost, thank you on behalf of the educators in the School District of Philadelphia for the announcement that you just made. And so, thank you. Can we thank them for that announcement? So on behalf of all of my colleagues, that is tremendous, and we're very pleased. And the reason that my colleagues and I do this work, it's because of the 400+ young people who are seated in the audience and all of the other children who are educated in the city of Philadelphia. But the importance of music, and we think about a lot of things that are important, particularly in a school district that has had some historical struggles financially, just a few things that we've navigated through. But I do think that the importance of engagement and how young people engage in the music, the importance of the representation of multiple cultures and languages that are erased as a part of the collaboration that goes into the production of music. The fact that children who participate in music education are 5 times more likely to graduate, 55% more likely to go on to post-secondary opportunities. And then they also understand why collaboration and working together becomes so critically important. And it's precisely why now the Philadelphia Orchestra has helped us, the School District of Philadelphia, have music in every instrumental music now in every K-8 school in the city of Philadelphia. And so we're very pleased with not just your support for what you're going to do at the rehearsal and tomorrow night doing the all-city concert, but the fact that you've helped us now not just restore music, but expand it to those places that historically have been underrepresented in terms of their access to the opportunity to have instrumental music experience in their school. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Hite. And the partnership between the Philadelphia Orchestra and the school district is long and so very, very fruitful. And we are one of many partners in your community. We are, for us, it's just an enormous pleasure and an honor. So you look like there's something else you wanted to say, but is there? Yeah,
no, just a few more.
You did?
Well,
okay.
A few things.
I didn't want to. I was going to move on, but I didn't want to.
The fact that you support our all-city orchestra program is extremely important, and I'll throw in another plug. Tomorrow is the all-city orchestra, and we have a special guest conductor for the finale. And Yannick, thank you for doing that as well.
With pleasure. This is always a highlight to go there.
And it also supports the All-City Fellowship, which provides 12 students access annually to private lessons and mentorship with orchestra musicians. And I have to mention the Jane H. Keston School concert program annually that provides 7,500 young people in grades 4 through 6 with the experience for the orchestra. So once again, on behalf of all of the young people that we serve in the School District of Philadelphia and all of the educators, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hite. It's a great pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. So our last pillar is music that transforms. And in this pillar, it is really about some of those defining unforgettable works writ large on our season. So these are among your favorites.
I think that in every season, what our commitment is that every week should be special. There's no such thing as an ordinary week with an orchestra, you know, and subscribers and patrons hopefully can attest to this, that we try, you know, to bring in one thing special at least every week. However, of course, some of the works, like you said, Matías, are more transformative than others. Whether it's music that has some kind of spirituality, or whether it's music that is just has a new context or has been written recently and has a special meaning. So one of the things I love about the season is that it does indeed show a varied approach to the word transformative or eventful. One of the ones I'm looking forward to, even though I'm not on the podium, is to have John Adams come and conduct his own music. And this piece, this violin concerto called Scheherazade II, it's actually inspired by the role and plight of women in history. So it ties in also in our other pillar, Women Now. And it will be performed by Leila Josefovic, who I believe it was dedicated to, and she's one of the great artists of today. And to have John Adams present on our podium after many, many years is going to be something very special, because he's simply one of the great, great, great composers of our time.
You're absolutely right. It's going to be fantastic to have him and Leila Josefovic here, especially for that piece, and he speaks especially powerfully about it. But just wait till you hear the music. You've only described the next piece as one of the greatest choral works ever written, and you're not prone to superlatives. So,
well. I see the next piece that is really transformative. First, in the context of my own history with the Philadelphia Orchestra. Since I arrived here, we, of course, had a great series of vocal masterpieces, choral and orchestral, which at first was under the cycle which we call the series of requiems. And it morphed eventually into a broader definition. And also myself, as well as guest conductors specialized in Baroque music, working on the Baroque repertoire with the orchestra. So we did the Matthew Passion twice, we did the Messiah as well, together, which we do every year, but when I also worked on it with the orchestra, and now I can't wait to just present a Bach B minor Mass in that same breath. One of the things I also like, which is not so transformative, but is that the Mass in B minor, unlike the Passions, has the fuller orchestra involved. You get timpani, you get trumpets, you get actually horn, you get bassoon, the flutes. So it's broader in its orchestration, and therefore maybe more appropriate even for the Philadelphia Orchestra to be playing. I also happen to think that if I could single out something which is like La Joconde or any Michelangelo piece or the great artworks of that could represent us, if anyone from Mars could come and visit on Earth, we would say, oh, do you want to know what music is? Bach Mass in B minor would be my choice. So I think that's what I think of the piece.
And I think there can never be enough Bach on a season. So, and I think Bach is in outer space on Voyager, I think.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I think
maybe it's gone beyond Mars.
It's gone beyond our galaxy.
Yeah.
It's gone beyond our galaxy. And then there is the small matter of a Strauss opera called Elektra.
Yeah, that is our commitment to have the sound of our orchestra playing the great scores of operatic repertoire. Last season we had Tosca. We had also a few seasons ago Salome by Strauss. So Elektra was already presented on this stage in a purely concert version. Now, as you've come to expect from us, we don't do things exactly like others. So it won't be completely in concert. It will be actually fully staged with some kind of stage around the people here near our beautiful Fred J. Cooper organ, which also we feature during the season. And it will be the chance to see the orchestra on the stage, have the greatest cast international cast ever, with Christine Gerke as Electra, Amber Wagner as Chrysothemis, also Michaela Martens as Clytemnestra, Misha Petrenko as Oreste, J. Hunter Morris as Aegiste, and also Jonathan Loy, who's coming from Philadelphia, works at the Met with me often and will come back to Philly to stage this. So that, of course, I'm looking forward to very much.
And there is so much more. Stéphane Deneuve's last season as principal guest.
Yes, with great events like L'Enfant et les Sortilèges by Ravel, which he will do beautifully.
Yeah, and including, and next to L'Enfant et les Sortilèges, music by John Williams, which is also a prelude to a fantastic new film series. So we're going to have to wrap up because you guys need to get rehearsing. But on your music stands, you will see that there are some notes from the musicians who sit in the very chairs that you sit in. They were just rehearsing Schubert's Ninth Symphony this morning, and they left you some notes. They shared what their favorite Philadelphia locations are and what they love so much about them. Share your impressions via the hashtag MyPhilOrc. You'll be hearing a lot from us on Your PhilOrc and My PhilOrc. And you know what? Better way to end than with some music. And just before I give you, Yannick, the last word, you'll be hearing 4 wonderful musicians from our orchestra, joined by Valerie Coleman on the flute, playing Valerie's piece, Umoja. And you'll hear from Daniel Matsukawa, our principal bassoon, Socrates Villegas from the clarinets, Shelley Showers, our horn, one of our horns, and Jonathan Blumenfeld, one of the orchestra's oboes. So before we welcome them, I'd like to say, Yannick, this season's magnificent. Thank you and congratulations.
And thank you, Matías. The music that we play is for you, week after week, and we want to share the joy of music, the impact and the power of music, the music that we believe in. And this is a journey, and we are the grateful caretakers of this magnificent orchestra. And this is why I'm so happy, after Matías, to welcome on the stage part of this orchestra for this beautiful piece by Valerie Coleman.